And what's up out there on YouTube world? All right. TikTok, Patreon, YouTube. Here we go. What's up? This is Into the Back Dragon out there on the YouTube streets. People will shorten it down to EBD, just fine with me. Hey, I know who they're talking to. Um, I wanted to come up and kind of um uh the last time I was up here, I believe I was going over like dating in 2020 and beyond, and I think I was doing a lot of comparisons to the 1980s or something like that. Anyway, um, what I wanted to talk about, kind of like, is is how we need a 1980s takeover. What I mean by that is that me being an 80s baby, I was born in 81. I personally believe that that during the 1980s, for me anyway, personally, I think that's when America was actually great. And it would be great of America if we woke up and it was 1981 or 1980 or if you pick any year within the decade of the 80s, I'm going to tell you it was a beautiful day, a beautiful morning. It was things that you can expect. Um, uh, y- y- we lived our lives completely outside. That was a social norm. We made friends with complete strangers very easily. Children were allowed to play outside and explore the world with their friends for hours and hours and hours on end without a singular piece of technology to track or monitor them. Parents can trust that their children live in a safe enough world where even if they got lost, they're with friends or they know what to do, or you were taught to trust random adults to protect you from harm and to get you home as a kid in 1985 or 1980, whatever. So I just believe that me being an 80s baby, I have that kind of bias, but that bias comes from an environment where I grew up in an environment that I was completely protected from social harms and ills. And I was given information that was real and authentic from other people, from bad experiences, like, for instance, the drinking, the consumption of alcohol, drinking and driving. There was Mothers Against Drunk Driving or something like that. MAD. There was the DARE program that was against illegal substances and stuff like that. So there were programs to protect kids from harmful substances and substance abuse and drinking and consuming too much alcohol and then getting behind the wheel, right? I still what the commercial campaigns that still stick out to me is, the crash test dummies that say, "Hey, buckle up and wear your seatbelt," and the two wine glasses that are slowly colliding, and it was a message about friends don't let friends drive drunk and stuff like that. So these are kind of campaign commercials and commercials back in the 1980s that you can expect to see on any given day that you woke up during that time when you were a kid. So for me, I wanted to mention, like, I mean, this is a tribute for me to the 1980s. I mean, this kind of episode, or whatever you want to call it, only because I think it was like a magical time where people were happier about living in America, and um, uh, the freedom that we all felt when we went outside, that we weren't cooped up in the house all day long. If you think about what we did on a typical Saturday morning, like, everyone woke up extra early around 6 or 7 o'clock to eat breakfast, watch cartoons, go outside. Maybe if you had any chores in the house as a kid, you would do them before you went outside. At least that's how I was raised. What I know I say a lot, so I'm trying to cut back on that. Anyway, let's see. You during Fridays, you're out of school on Friday, so you're looking forward to the weekend, and the weekend is always filled with promise. You can go to the park, you can go to the playground, you can go play with your friends outside. You guys can fly a kite. You guys can play with your toys. You guys could always use your imagination to do something together as a group. No one was ever left out back in the 1980s. You went to go knock on everybody's door to get them outside, and you're like, "Hey man, can Gerald come out? Hey, can Fabian come out? Hey, could Chris and Kevin come out?" And sometimes if they're brothers, yeah, well, Kevin can come out, but not Chris because Chris is sick. And we're like, "Oh, what, really?" And so like, all right, so tell them, we hope you get better, and then we just keep on moving, right? So back then, we wake up, somebody wakes up and is responsible for collecting the social friends, and then figuring out what to do that day. This was a typical Saturday morning after you had breakfast and I think watched cartoons or whatever cartoons you like to watch that come on, like before, I want to say 1 or 2 o'clock. I think 1 o'clock. At 1 o'clock or noon, other shows came on that were more adult centered or teenage centered, and you were done with TV anyway. You went outside. So you went outside. All the cartoons are off. You went to go collect your friends. You went to go figure out what to do, and you stayed out there until, I don't know, it was time for either lunch or dinner or what have you. But there was no real interest in staying inside at home all the time. Or, I mean, it was probably the most boring thing a kid can ever do back in the 1980s. I mean, hell, you were punished. The way you were punished in the 80s was being sent to your room, not being able to go outside and play with your friends. So it's just, it's not baffling. It's just that we've come so the pendulum has swung so far in the other direction that more people and more children are staying inside and gaming and all that. And it's like, none of y'all want to go outside anymore, play football, play kickball, play stickball, play with toys or something like that. So, with the technological era, we're more, prone to being inside because that's where all the technology is, but outside is where all real life is. So I think that I think that's where we kind of like lost our way in connecting in everyday society when we're talking about everyday interactions. We're so freaked out by the normality of interacting with each other day to day. um, we're more comfortable. I noticed that a lot of younger people are more comfortable posting an online video rather than having an real life honest conversation that's a few hours, or a few, that talks about everything, about that involves like critical thought before answering a question, like things like that. Like having a serious conversation seems to be mentally taxing the younger you go. But it changes communication a bit because you don't know how to, explain to them what this joke means and what it references and what episode of what show and when did the show air. And so, I mean, you find problems trying to connect with younger people because they understand um, more technological references than tangible real life references. They'll never understand how it is where a television set came with two different knobs, one for the channel and another for a micro channel, in order to properly tune a TV in order to receive the picture, because the rabbit ears that you got collected signals over an over the air broadcast, and that's how you caught television back in the day. They'll never understand because they've never lived in an era where they've had to actually do that in order to watch and consume media. So, there's a lot there's a lot about life that younger people missed out on, such as life, like offline, right? So I think I mentioned this before in another podcast, like maybe one or two of them ago, something like that. But if it's up to me, if I had that kind of fu money and I could like open up a studio, I would dedicate my resources into hiring actors and actresses and stuff like that to produce stories of just kids relating and doing things all day back in the 1980s and back in the 1990s. What kind of commercials were running on television, what kind of cartoons, like just an actual window into the daily happenings of 1980s and 1990s and what kind of movies were coming out and the blockbuster video experience, the going to the movies, buying popcorn, how much things cost back then. Um, I would want to have a studio that displays like all of this as a mini series or however it is it's going to work, right? And I would want the same thing to happen with 90s. I would want a 90s stream of movies and film that kind of follows either childhood or a teenager type of deal during that time so that people get a better window as to what how things used to operate before the internet. So for me, if anyone is out there in the universe that's interested in like creating that kind of like project or or telling that kind of story, like I've come up with like a list full of miniseries and movies ideas that are based in that era that would like display the social relationships that we've had back then and how people in our age group and in our era still are friends to this day that check up on each other and worried and honor people who may have passed and want to honor and tell their stories and things like that. um Basically also music plays a big role in everyone's life. I mean, music is the soundtrack of our lives and our generation. And I think along with film and media and television, we also need to understand that back then we listened to the radio a lot more. We didn't have selective hearing. We turned on the radio and tuned into a particular station because we liked the kind of broadcasts that were coming out of that channel. So we had our favorite channel, our favorite stations, and then we moved around to preset channels so we could listen to our different channels and because we like different types of music. So me personally, I am an 80s metalhead, right? I mean, not many people know this about me or people like me, but I grew up in 80s Metallica and Guns N' Roses and AC/DC and Black Sabbath and things like that. Um, but my proclivity, my taste for music crosses different genres. I also liked 80s and 90s rap and hip hop back in those days too. Of course, Cello, Cool J back in those days. Um, um, uh, TLC, uh, Queen Latifah back in those days when she was a rapper, doing that. Uh, Boyz II Men, like all of these 80s and 90s artists, New Edition definitely. Um, back in these days, you turn on the radio and you hear all these songs about either having a party, going to a party, just had a party, whatever it is, right? You hearing about the school life, you're hearing about the notes being passed, you're hearing about like a lot of things that modern teenagers could relate to. Um, Especially Young MC. Young MC, and Will Smith and DJ Jazzy Jeff, like back then, talked about like running around doing like teenage stuff, And I remember Tevin Campbell back in the day was like the smooth, like um, singer that kind of talked about like making out and getting it on and stuff like that. But yeah. Two Live Crew, the bad boys back in the day, right? Like singing about, women popping it and, doing all kinds of stuff, right? Crazy, right? But you had more in the 70s and 80s, like songs that were smoother and about, love and partying and the bars and nightlife and getting together and stuff like that. But also in the 80s, you had like a more conservative lifestyle, right? I remember songs like "Take You Home," right? You know, um, "Will You Still Love Me If I Take You Home?" Uh, an age-old question, right? Like, I think Janet Jackson had "Let's Wait a While," and um, yeah, there were a couple songs about kind of like waiting and kind of like taking our time before we went there, and I don't want a one night stand. Paula Abdul, straight up, yeah, yeah, that's another one. Straight up, now tell me, do you really want to love me forever, or are you just a hit and run? So there were songs that kind of like preached what kind of message was kind of conveyed to men back then, right? So it's like slow down, let's date or something like that. Uh, and I think men back then received that message loud and clear because there wasn't such a there wasn't. I mean, think about it. Back then, hookup culture wasn't a thing, right? It wasn't. I'm sorry, it just wasn't. I mean, it was, but it wasn't, right? Of course, there were one night stands, and of course, there were um, first dates that went too far, but that wasn't a cultural norm. That was like a freak incident that wasn't really talked about or was a taboo. It was never really widely practiced or accepted because it's not reflected of any, not really any of the songs or any of the television shows or any of the movies. So the movies and television shows back then in the 1980s that you grew up with were preaching a lot about a lot of family values and about how the nuclear family is mother, father, and every other child in so many different ways. So I wanted to go through just at least two lists, and the two lists I have are a sampling of 1980s TV, and then the other list is the 1980s movies. And I want to go through the list pretty quick because I don't want to pause and then talk about 30 minute about one show, right? I'm just gonna go through the list and then I'll maybe comment on one or two. I don't know. Let's see. 1980s. They had My Two Dads, and they had Married with Children that was started. Perfect Strangers, Small Wonder, Dynasty, Golden Girls, Full House, The Hogan Family, Valerie, China Beach, Magnum PI, Beauty and the Beast, In the Heat of the Night, 21 Jump Street, Just the 10 of Us, Roseanne, Moonlighting, The Wonder Years, Laverne and Shirley, I Dream of Jeannie, Punky Brewster, Doogie Howser MD, Family Matters, Airwolf, Knight Rider, Chips, Dukes of Hazard, of course, the A Team. How can I forget the A Team? All in the Family, Double Trouble, Head of the Class, 30 something, Who's the Boss, Quantum Leap, Happy Days, The Love Boat, Fantasy Island, Facts of Life, Miami Vice, Friday the 13th, the series, Freddy's Nightmares, Bosom Buddies, Taxi, Cheers, Give Me a Break, Simon and Simon, All American Hero, Family Ties, Growing Pains, Automan, Charles in Charge, Hunter, Spencer for Hire, Murder She Wrote, Mr. Belvedere, Alf, Night Court, 227, Amazing Stories, Tales from the Dark Side, The Outer Limits, What's Happening and What's Happening Now, Matlock. So back then, those were the 80s movies. I mean, not 80s movies, 80s television shows that when you turn on your television, um, you can watch these shows and like be entertained. There were soap operas back then too, I believe. That was the kind of the beginning, I want to say. I know there was some stuff during the 70s. I haven't done the research too much because I wasn't born in that era, but back in the 80s, I believe like General Hospital, All My Children, um, Days of Our Lives, and stuff like that. If they weren't out then, they were probably coming out around then. I think there was a one called Santa Barbara, I believe. I remember Dynasty was, I believe, one of the more dramatic shows that came on at night. It wasn't, it was a soap opera, but it wasn't a soap opera. It was just like a drama soap opera, like for at, you know, because the soap opera is more, I want to say reality based TV. That was our first kind of taste of reality TV, right? But it's called a soap opera. But I think Dynasty was made like another TV show, but it was kind of soap opera-esque with drama. So, that's kind of the appeal behind that show. But anyway, for 80s movies, I want to go through the quick list of that. A lot of them, not a lot. I hope not a lot. But even though there's a lot, I am going to say this. In the 1980s, directors, writers, actors all used their imagination in order to pull off these movies that made them work. And they're still watchable till this day. And I'll tell you what I want to do after I rattle off this list. So, um, The Breakfast Club, An Officer and a Gentleman, Die Hard, The Goonies, 16 Candles, Pretty in Pink, The Terminator, Heathers, A Nightmare on Elm Street, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, Aliens, Back to the Future 1 and 2, Star Wars, Return of the Jedi, Revenge of the Nerds, Gremlins, When Harry Met Sally, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, The Neverending Story, The Karate Kid, Poltergeist, Weekend at Bernie's, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, The Princess Bride, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Some Kind of Wonderful, Top Gun, Dirty Dancing, Beetlejuice, E.T. the Extraterrestrial, Spaceballs, Labyrinth, Footloose, Ghostbusters, Scarface, Short Circuit, RoboCop, The Shining, Lethal Weapon, Tootsie, The Killer, A Better Tomorrow, Private Lessons, um, Fatal Attraction, Batman, The Untouchables, Repo Man, Predator, Coming to America, Risky Business, First Blood, Big, Mad Max 2, American Werewolf in London, The Fly, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, The Little Mermaid, Beverly Hills Cop, They Live, Stand By Me, Fast Times at Richmond High, Sex, Lies, and Videotape, Airplane, the movie, Platoon, The Blues Brothers, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, Say Anything, Evil Dead 2, Rain Man, Amadeus, Possession, Deadpool's Society, Akira, Full Metal Jacket, Blue Velvet, Blade Runner, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Commando, The Thing, Raging Bull, Do the Right Thing, The Running Man, Raw Deal, Kickboxer. Now I was just about to start getting into the Schwarzeneggers and Van Dams of all the movies, but I didn't want to take forever, so I kind of ended it there. But what I want to do, and I've mentioned this, of course, before, but it's worth mentioning again. Don't get me wrong. I think that several things need to happen in order to make America great again for every single American that's here or still here, as the idea is, or as the situation may be. And if we want to move forward, I think that some things about our behavior and what we want to do um, need to come from the past. And I think one of those things is like decency. Like we need to bring back American decency. that we had in the 1980s. We need to bring back the respect that we had in the 1980s. We need to bring back going and living our lives every single day outside, talking to people and getting to know people. That's something we need to bring back from the 1980s. Um, we need to be able to turn off our telephones and our smartphones and live and enjoy in the moment, when we're on dates or when we're spending time with our best friends, like we did back in the 1980s. We need to maybe watch the television shows and movies that kind of have more positive, and different messages, that we had back in the 1980s. Like there's so many things from that era which would help us connect more on a social level today. So I'm not saying we all hop in a time machine, but you know, we have so much digital media now that we could relive an entire era and perhaps be a better people because of it. Even the music that was out back then made you feel some kind of positive about, who or where you were in life, you know? It wasn't a depressing time. It just wasn't. And really neither were the 90s, I'm going to say. I want to say the 80s were a happier time than the 90s perhaps, but during the 90s there was an economic boom in this country. More people and more businesses, more individuality, more modernity, more technology was introduced in the 90s. I mean, in the 90s, the mid 90s is where we're getting our Windows 1995 app, computers, at least access to them within either school or business or some kind of way, right? Like now we're having a connection to the entire, not the entire world, but a digital world where um, the people that we meet are in a new environment, but they're not in that environment 24/7, 7 days a week, as we are now. But yeah, I think there's something about a way that we need to learn how to disconnect. And I know how, it sounds, me being online on the podcast, like telling people, hey, we need to get off. But hey, we need to get off is what I'm saying. Like, I'm not going to be up here for 7 hours talking, or even 3 hours. Well, I hope not even 3 hours talking, but I'm not here to take up a majority of your day, right? I'm just here for an hour to convey um, a particular message about becoming a better person, or how we can at least have a role model or an example to work off of a time and period where everyone who lived through that era can I can point to this movie, like The Breakfast Club, and everyone sees the same thing. As old as I am, or maybe younger, somehow you're in your 30s, but you can relate to The Breakfast Club somehow, or maybe you're 20 and you can maybe somehow relate. Maybe you do, maybe you don't, but at least we can point to a time in a movie where this type of situation either we've come across or we know someone's come across it, sitting in detention or having to sit in detention with a bunch of strangers that you don't know, and maybe you're friends with somebody, or something came from it, or some kind of situation in which you find yourself having to reconcile with time being lost, and you're just trying to sit there and work it out, right? So we've all been there, some kind of way or another, but we can all relate to The Breakfast Club because of it. But anyway, I guess the main crux of everything is that I'm in my mid 40s now. I just turned 44 a few days ago, uh on the 5th, and if anyone's curious. But I am starting to realize that the people who are running our government, like municipal, local, state, federal. I mean, I understand now that they come from a generation where, this is how you govern, this is what needs to be done, da, 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 da. And there are old ideas and old technology and old implementations and old this and old that. And I'm not saying there's something wrong with the word old. I'm just saying that it, like, in the era of 2025, our municipalities and our government and our DMV and our um our passport, the way we generate one, and our documentation, the way we generate one. I mean, we have certificates that when we pass the test, it's generated instantaneously, and then we're licensed to do something, and our, value is, goes up because of it, right? Or same thing with the degree. But the point being, like, in our government, things are still slow. In some private businesses, some things are, things in private businesses are going to be faster than our municipalities and some of our governments in some states. Depending what state you go to, right? Some states don't have this problem. They don't have a problem with modernity and implementing modern technology in order to make everyone's life convenient. But I think when it comes to systems of, when we talk about small businesses, when we talk about resources, when we talk about loans, when we talk about business ideas, when we talk about collaborations, we talk about grants, when we talk about federal spending, when we talk about roads and bridges and infrastructure, when we talk about power and electricity, and when we talk about education, when we talk about degrees and studies and who and has access and how, and uh, laws and bills that are becoming laws, and who's agreeing to these bills and who's signing them, and being transparent. All of these things are problems we can solve. 2025 AI implementation, and the rest. We live in an era where we have virtually unlimited resources, and can generate information, or at least retrieve information on the fly, actually, as we speak during a conversation, probably. So, what I'm proposing is that people in my age group, 40 years old, or older, 40 to 50 maybe, um, we need to start running for public office, and we need to start communicating with each other as the adults and parents that we are. I mean, whether you're a parent or not is beside the point. You're at a more mature age in order to start um, running for offices of leadership and cooperation in order to implement a better future for people who are younger than you, such as your children, grandchildren, so on and so forth. We're reaching an era where technology, the right technology implementation can solve a lot of modern problems. Wait times for hospitals or wait times for documentation should be reduced by like 70 or 80%. Paperwork is literally virtual, almost like 90% virtualized. Um, your identity is can is and can be a digital um, fingerprint or eye print, which can be carried on your cell phone or your wearable watch. You should be able to pay for things and identify yourself in any establishment with a swipe, not even a physical swipe, just a tap. So let me express that. I think the future needs to take the technology that we already have and make it far more convenient for us to knowingly and willingly identify ourselves, so that we are better sought after, whether it be a business that's looking for an employee, or a business that's looking for another business for co-business relationship and cooperation, or even acquisition of services and statement of work and da 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 da. Da. So this is the kind of like future I want to see, that assists everyone with harnessing resources by providing access to information, through state and local and federal governments working together to identify who a person is or isn't. Um, this can be done and implemented in a manner of multiple stages, which involves different technology companies or different types of technology companies that are contracted with the state and federal government to keep an agreement that says this person that you federally recognize resides in this state and has this identification that's provided by that state or and this is the passport as us the federal government provides to this person. Da, 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 da. So like all of these things like that come together will allow people to more freely move about city to city, state to state, whatever, and be able to be vetted and employed for either public or private sector jobs. Like if I've held a Department of Defense security clearance before, so the first time it takes like almost a year, for FBI to go through a background check, things like that. But that kind of check gets reduced when you need to renew your clearance. So I mean, the first time was a year. The second time was like in a matter of less than a month because I've already been through the background check. So so at that point they're checking if anything needs to be updated or changed. So I think a lot of security checks and integrations need to happen, but that's going to take a government and it's going to take a leader that understands that has that clear vision. So um, that's kind of my end of it, right? I would be said whatever visionary or whatever you want to call it, but yeah, that's just kind of the high pie in the sky. If I mean, I don't know. I like if I had the presidency, right? Let's just say in this magical world, I think these thought experiments are I think both fun and healthy. So let's just say I'm president, right? I would have to, because of my history of being a senior software engineer, I would have to look and examine each of the federal systems that are providing services to and who they're providing services to, why, how much, and what the return on investment is, and are we losing, are we gaining? Like all of these things are have to be assessed like every once in a while, right? And that's how federal, I guess spending and budgets work, and state and local budgets work too, right? But when we're talking about taking leaps in and bounds into the future, what we want to do is take what's no longer going to be feasible for the future and invest in things that are going to be feasible into the future. For instance, mass transit, right? Mass transit uh, is going to look severely different because we're going to need to find out how to move a bunch of people from here to there quickly and safely. Only because I think that there are different ways that different countries have expanded their mass transit, including light rail and things like that that get them from end of the country to another. So there's hyperloops now that can travel pretty fast. There is I think the movement toward electrical vehicles is going to be probably one of the largest leaps in technological advancements we will live our life through, right? Um, think about it. A car that no longer needs gasoline, all you got to do is plug it in like your cell phone for an hour or for however long you need to, right? I mean, it's pretty much going to be more of the ideal than having to pay like cents per gallon at the end of the week. Instead, you can just charge it each day or charge it when it needs to be charged. And obviously, the batteries and the capacity of the batteries are going to be far more improved as more vehicles and more types of vehicles are produced and sold out there. So, there's a whole platform. Actually, I have, I'm talking and I'm talking, and I do have like a platform. I did a thought experiment on like a presidential platform. I did a thought experiment like I want to say several months ago, or even when I was at my old house. I think I did. I think that's why I wrote this all down. So, wow, this is a lot. Okay, so I'm gonna go through um um the presidential platform. I'm 44. I'm not president, but it'd be cool if I was, and if I were, this is my platform in which I would run on. Or if there were a president, I don't care if you steal this idea from you and from me, and you want to run on a platform, just run on it only because it benefits everyone. It overhauls our need for infrastructure and job creation, in investments into future technology and mass transit. It allows people to travel from one city to another, which means more people can work more jobs, meaning if a person can travel to multiple cities or even across state lines, um, uh, um, just because there's vehicles and mass transportation with the ability of able to get there and back. I mean, we're talking a lot more opportunity for a lot of different things. So, especially manufacturing, because who's going to manufacture these vehicles? It should be us. So, also we're talking about vehicle maintenance, and then software when it comes to automation and engineering. So, and public services and fairs and collection and stuff like that. So, tenants, I think I called it. Okay, so the platform is, if you want a better future, you need to be ready to build one, right? So, tenants of a new house, homelessness and housing, right? Eliminating homelessness in each state by building a system which no persons will be without adequate shelter. That's one of the tenets, right? I think that homelessness is something that is um, not necessary. It's a waste of uh, human capital and potential, which can contribute to society, which needs to be addressed by the local municipality, whether they have funds or whether they need to get funds. The homelessness population needs to be inside of a decent shelter and be able to have an opportunity to acquire um, employment, either working from that shelter or being provided with their own private apartment living, uh, um, shared space within a building that's maintained and kept up by the city. And it doesn't mean it needs to be broken down or it needs to be all run raggedy or something like within the projects. And it doesn't even have to be Section 8. It just needs to be a small one bedroom apartment or an efficiency apartment with the necessity of being provided shelter from the environment and the elements, and where people can actually get their mail and sign up and register for work. So also, um, the municipality needs to have a better relationship with the local chamber of commerce and local businesses, because uh, if local businesses decide to open up and they're going to need employers or managers or someone with experience in order to provide employment for this job, in order for this business to succeed, then the city can pull from the labor pool, the available labor pool of people who may have that experience or may qualify or may go through a training program in order to be applicable or qualified for said job, for this new businesses that's opening up or in conception or in talks. So we need more uh, interconnected cooperation between people in order for people who are unemployed to be employed, in order for businesses to have employees, and in order for that relationship to work out, that business will be successful in producing either a service or a product, or whatever that business is going to get into, right? So it can be even support for it. That business can even be in the business of supporting other businesses. Yeah, it's a tongue twister, but it's true. So public transportation is a section underneath my platform, and it's just talking about like bullet trains, subways, buses, ferries, taxis. But taxis are going to fall under Lyft and Uber. So rideshare companies. That's pretty much what it falls under. I think I was doing a comparison between different countries and yeah, France public transportation, American public transportation. Okay, yeah, okay. I was doing a comparison, I guess. So also when it comes to immigration, I have an immigration section. It's talking about applications for immigration can be provided online. So, with this integrated technology that I was talking about, when we talk about identification here in the United States and how all these the state and the federal government that provide these technical documents are both associated to you and they're biometrically like associated with you. So we could provide support for other countries to have their citizens do the same thing or provide the same service, so that people are identified no matter where they're at, everywhere around the world. Now, I'm not saying that this is something that's mandatory. I'm saying that this is something that's voluntary, because it'll provide easier access to identify who's coming from and who wants to go to where when it comes to transportation. Now, transportation doesn't just mean within state to state, city to city. It also means globally from country to country, and from hemisphere to hemisphere. So think about a bunch of scientists or business people or people who tend to travel, for their job or for their, their grant or whatever the case, their research project, whatever it is that they may be. People who go around the world providing talks and things like that. Like there's already a pseudo type of passport, whatever that they can kind of first class walk through and not be searched or something like that. I mean, it's the same concept, but everyone should have a right to travel just as easily. Like if you're not on any watch list, if you're not on any type of danger or threat assessment level, which has been assessed by the state, which has been assessed by the federal government, then TSA should allow you so much leeway to walk through security. You may need to still scan a bag for any type of harmful things, maybe, but as far as like taking off your shoes and your belt and all that, I mean, I really don't know if some of these things are completely necessary as they as in 2025, now that we have more better technology to identify who a real threat is and who isn't, and we have the kind of walk through security to where we can detect um what is and what isn't. I just don't know how taking items of clothes off, to really make sure, like, I don't know how that's gonna. I mean, with technology today, I mean, you can detect, it's the metal or it's the whatever scanner that's gonna detect what's going on. Anyway, that's just my little rant on whatever. But I guess the point was that traveling should be made easier through the harnessing of identification technology, and you shouldn't you should be able to vote as an American citizen wherever you are. Actually, I think voting should be as easy as logging into your phone. You should be able to um, actually look up a poll for your city, for your municipality that you reside. You should be able to see what the ballot initiative is, if there is one. You should see who it applies to, who it affects. You should have access as a citizen or resident of wherever you are to the school board. You should have access to any type of municipality. Who gets voted dog catcher and mailman for all I care. Like you should be an informed citizen that knows who is in control or in charge in your local neighborhood, your local district, your local alderman. I think that you need as a citizen more knowledge and or control over who is elected, why, what they're doing, and if they're doing a good job or not. I mean, if we have social media right now and your local whatever has an Instagram, I mean, how many people are following? I mean, honestly. But what I would say is, I mean, we live in an era now where everything's kind of sort of connected, but not really hyper connected as it could be. I mean, it could be more efficient. I'm one of those guys who's supposed to be in charge of making it more efficient. So with my company's EonSoft, and my business is implementing like AI solutions into like identifying media um, and how it applies to business or how it may apply to government or even how it may apply to law and how it may apply to statistics and how it may apply to gaming. So I've come out with a few products, like I don't know, a few years ago, that uses AI integrated identification, in order to connect a user to all of the purchased games that they have on their console. So basically, if you purchased games and downloaded games on your PS3, and the PS4, yet the PS5 doesn't have any of the previous games that you downloaded. I created this type of registration in which your purchases from your PlayStation would kind of carry over into the newest console, by creating a separate app that integrated all of your purchases into licensing copyrights that allow you to have access to those games. But anyway, that's just one, right? That's an example of me trying to put something out there that helps people reconcile with all of their purchases of games that they have played in the past, but maybe haven't beaten, or just purchases in the past that they've lost money out on. For me, eh, I always thought of gaming consoles to be superior when they included backwards compatibility, and meaning you can always play the games of yesterday. Like the games of yesterday are still fun to play too. I still play Nintendo games even now. But let me not get too uh, off into a tangent on that. Right? That's just grumpy old man talking, gamer. But anyway, I was talking about artificial intelligence and how it's going to be integrated in order to better create an identity system. But the identity system should allow you to get access and it should allow you to be contacted through interested parties that may want to do business with you, or have you provide them with the service that they may want from you. And you should be able to start making money and start having several streams of income by being able to dedicate like some of your time to a project that a client may need you to work on. For instance, like me, I am a senior software engineer that designs and creates software, but I also do voice acting. I also do some amateur stand-up comedy. I do stupid voice impressions. Um, that's on my YouTube. The YouTube, if you look up like bad impressions, I think, um, I don't know. There's like, who is there? There's like Erwin the Kingster. That's one of my favorite ones. There's Marcy and Ed, I think. Anyway, beside the point. Like I'm like there's different ways I'm putting myself out there. So like there are voice acting channels that I probably start I really probably need to start signing up and doing. But there are several ways that there are several talents that you have as a person in 2025 that need to be explored. And I think now that we're coming to an era where you can do more than just be on a podcast, you can actually participate in multiple ways. You can do game streaming. I do that too with my Call of Duty. Um, I post every good game every once in a while. That's maybe like 4 or 5 minutes long. I don't want to keep a person's attention like 10 minutes just on me getting blown up or whatever. But back to my main point. I think that immigration from one country to another country, or even from state to state, migrating from state to state or country to country, can be done so much more easier and efficient if we use our technological resources to identify everyone, where everyone is from, where everyone wants to go, and why they want to go there. Uh, I don't see how that's not a phone application that someone can just easily swipe through, place a checkbox where it needs to be, um, uh, submit their profile or whatever numbers and letters we need them to fill out, have it evaluated, and have them wait for a callback, or even an AI agent bot that just says, "Hey, your number, whatever, your court date is such and such at such and such location," or virtual. It can be a virtual meeting that's scheduled online for a hearing, and then each person can be evaluated either one by one, or however it is, or even a virtual panel that says, "Okay, where do you guys all running from?" or "Why are you guys all applying for asylum?" Well, it's because of this, that, and the other, right? So it can even be represented by a group by saying, "Hey, this group is being persecuted or needs to escape the situation for from this period of time to this period of time, or until such conditions change to where it's safe for them to go back, or if we figure out another location for this person to go that they might be better happy with." So international travel and travel in general can be made far more easier by self-identification and by implementation of technology, is my main point. Also, my other main point is that people my age and in my age group and kind of younger, 35 or even 25, or eligible to run for municipality and public office, can and should. um, I myself do not have presidential money. I ain't got presidential sponsorship. But if I did, I would call myself an American, and my platform would be about America. And my whole platform would be about trying to bring about respect and decency and civility that we had in the 1980s back to um, this future, the future. My whole theme would maybe be Back to the Future, um, going back to the 1980s, and the decency and the kindness and generosity and the safety and community that we had in the 1980s is something we need to look at and move forward in reference to social behavior and values that we share. Only because I think that right now we are at such a um, contentious and stressful um, uh, situation, like butting of heads. Like, I mean, you've heard, if you look online and if you look at what men are saying about women, and myself is included, right? I'm not absent of this. I'm guilty of this as well. But if you look at how men perceive women and how women perceive men, there's a total and utter misalignment and devaluing of each other that needs to come to a abrupt and uh, definite end. We're going to need to re-examine the value of each other as people, and the only way we can do that is in real time and not on a screen and not behind a keyboard. We're gonna have to return back to a time where most of us, include maybe all of us, need to spend time more outside. And because we've been cooped up and wrapped up in cameras and microphones for too long, we need to spend a majority of our time outside in the real world, talking to people and feeling chemistry, and not being attacked because we're opening our mouths and saying something. Like, talking to somebody shouldn't be a reason like you make a post to the whole world about you feeling icky or gross or something like that. Like that's the culture that we're gonna have to like move away from and completely put an end to altogether. So the culture that we need to fall back into is exchanging phone numbers, um, writing letters, handwritten letters, expressing how we think and feel about something. Uh, I think we really need to get back into handwriting. And I think handwriting is a form of art and expression that allows you to express more of what you want to say through words or even poetry, and then give it to someone else that you're interested or care about, and then they can kind of keep and hang on to that, for years and years on end. So, I think that's something that's also, like, given more from the heart rather than a text message, which can be broadcast and sent to just about anybody or a random stranger. So, also personal interactions, need to be more people need to be more open to being more uncomfortable in spaces outside. You need to stop running from statements and phrases that you don't like or you think may trigger you only because uh, you may misinterpret or misunderstand someone completely. And the last thing you need to do is check out and run away. Like you have to if you stand on a principle or a belief, like you should be able to stand there and defend it. Um, but you shouldn't always feel attacked because someone feels and thinks differently than you do. Like you need to lean into the conversation and understand each other's perspective, especially if you don't agree. So that's one of the things that are like part of, what we should do is, as an elder, 40 something, 44 something year old, Anyway, I have the rest of my presidential platform, and some of it is. Oh, let me verify. Hang on. There we go. Yeah, they make you verify every once in a while, but it's cool. Um, Let me go back to my presidential platform because I said I'd read it, so I don't want to be a liar. Let's see. I talked about immigration. I talked about transportation, education and training. Education in the year 2025 and beyond should be updated and modernized to learn more about the new world we live in and how to navigate accordingly, as well as the past history of the United States, um, and the global countries that exist around the world. So in 2025, it's my sincere belief that our kids shouldn't be dumber than we are. They should be far more smarter. And to some extent, they are because of the technology and the access to information, but they just don't use or implement it as much as we think we would want them to. Back in our day in the 1980s, we looked up dictionaries, thesaurus, the encyclopedia, um, we used information to do research on papers and books we would write, and well, not books we would write. Uh, we would read books in order to write a paper on the book we would read. We would do book reports. I'm sorry, I can't believe I lost that term, book report. Yeah, I remember book. Remember book reports? You had to report on the book you read and tell us what you thought. So reading was more of a fundamental back in the days of the 80s. There were no screens to look at. I mean, we had that filmy projector that we would do math on with the translucent, paper. We would work, doing, watching a teacher, criticizing their handwriting and hearing the squeak of the markers and all right, if this is times this times this, okay, what's times this, and then sometimes it can put you to sleep, but it's back in the 80s, a projector, right? No screens. So we grew up so different in old school. It's not like we've forgotten how society used to work back in those days. It's just that we've become so hyper connected, we forgot like the most important things about being alive is talking to people in person in real life. Like in real life is how we need to connect. I mean, yes, we can connect over digital platforms for, you know, I don't know, 30 minutes to an hour, maybe two or three, because we all come from different, cities and states and we can connect on a panel. Okay, that's fine. But to be so disconnected in the real world is really what's concerning. And I think that we need a generation such as ours who was raised offline to um, take over public spaces and remind younger generations that interacting in real life is far more valuable than your digital online presence, and that walking up to total strangers and having them talk to you isn't a threat or scary incident. It's everyday life. It's how people should live. It's how you're not going to be afraid of men anymore instead of bears, like you should be. Um, it's it's how we're going to get past this stagnation of blaming each other for why dating is so alienated and getting away from clickbaited social media that places blame on this gender or that gender, but instead reconcile and start all over from scratch. Learn to keep your phone in your pocket or in your purse for the duration of your day, and to only take it out when you need to get a number or someone's contact information to continue the dialogue that you hopefully have out there when you're out there. But for me, I definitely think that businesses should be open to providing more services to different businesses. And I mean, we're in a service-based economy now. Um, we're not too far away from manufacturing, even though manufacturing has gone overseas due to costs. But what we can do is bring back manufacturing by producing digital products that need hardware products and support, such as EV vehicles, electric vehicles. Those are going to need manufactured parts that we should be able to produce here in multiple states. Also, batteries or screen displays or any type of safety engineering system that'll allow the car to maybe either automatically stop. So there's going to be a lot of like integrated software and integrated hardware that's going to be responsible for transportation in the future. But we also need to start opening up our ideas to taking the entire United States from coast to coast and creating a network of mass transportation to where citizens can start traveling from one part of the country to another in a reduced manner of time, so that visitation is more possible, either family get-togethers or holiday travel being a lot more efficient. If you think about 2025 and think about the future now, the future is now. We still have problems we have not solved. I mean, Christmas travel is still a thing. Holiday travel is still a problem. Flights are still delayed due to weathering. Uh, uh, like we're still limited in some shape or way or form because we have not been serious enough about taking that next step of investments into America's infrastructure to invest in more convenient mass transit. So um, you have to excuse me. There's a road that's right in front, so that's different vehicles passing by. But yeah, I mean the money's there and the return on the investment is like 10 to 20 fold or 100 fold. I mean we have to like kind of get over this fear of um uh of hard work and labor and creativity and implementing good ideas, like now's the time for people of my generation to step into the light and of leadership and say, hey, you know what? We're going to open up this transportation tunnel, and we're going to create this thing here that gets you from here, here, and here in a matter of minutes instead of hours. Like, we need to start making these moves and these leaps and bounds. And we also need to take our highways and interstates and allow them different avenues of transportation. For example, what if truckers and trucking had their own lane, meaning they have a lane in which they can, you know, uh, come onto the main highway and exit the main highway, have their own lane. That way, if anything's wrong or anything's broken down, they can exit um, a provided exit to where they can park their truck, their Mack truck, their semi truck with the extended cab and be serviced or wait for a service. There needs to be, I think, more service stations that are dedicated to interstate highway trucks so that they can insert, they can, there's a wrecker, there can be a close by or nearby wrecker station that's at these stations, kind of like how gas stations and um, are can be found all along the interstate when you're doing a long drive, but instead there is a place specifically for Mack trucks and stuff like that. And there are, but I mean more only because we do see and pass by broken down semis on the side of the road for hours or in the middle of the night or something like that. What I would say is that there needs to be more dedicated service truckers, which provide mechanical support to these semis in like a more timely manner. So that needs to be an investment in which we can keep our truckers moving and our goods and services moving, right? So that's just one of the ways, right? Another way is more EV vehicle charging stations. Obviously, if gas stations are around, then I think it's more than reasonable for these gas stations that already have a place for you to fill up your car to expand or take out a section that has EV charging stations, or at least a side of parking for EV charging vehicles. Um, that would be more accommodating for that gas station or for that that store to have. Also, there needs to be, I think, speed tunnels, meaning there needs to be along the interstate a cut out designated area where a person can travel up to and beyond 100 miles an hour without having the fear of being either pulled over or stopped by any type of state trooper or sheriff's department, only because it can reduce significantly the travel time between um, two cities or even states when you're traveling across the country. It doesn't mean that they can speed throughout maybe the whole trip, but there need to be dedicated zones that are um, 20 to 30, maybe 40 miles. If there are no real, let's just say, stops or something like that, there needs to be at least a lane too, where the far left lane, perhaps, where a person can do over 100 miles an hour when they're in the speed zone, and in the middle lane is where people do less than 100 miles an hour, something like that. Something to where there's no mistaking what lane is for what purpose and at what speed you can travel. So that's just one another way of kind of working with that. And these are things that can kind of happen now, but uh, when I talk about these things and improving our infrastructure and improving the way we do things with documentation and government run systems, I'm talking about making your life so much easier to where you can walk um, to your local grocery or whatever, buy whatever it is you want, Yeah, you got to stand in line to wait for checking out, but think about it. You can swipe or you can tap now. So things are becoming that much more convenient where you swipe and tap and then go out about your very way. You can do this at the gas pump now. You should be able to do this, I believe, at the EV pumps too, or something like that. But you should also be able to register and to vote, and that vote doesn't expire until you're kaput, until your your death certificate has been processed by the state or a state. As long as you're alive, you should be able to vote no matter where you are or where you live. It should be your registration should be virtually registered within the municipality of your residence and then hooked up to the federal registry so they know who you are and will be associated with your tax information, all that. So not only will this information provide better polling information and polling data of who supports what, and entrance polling and exit polling would be more accurate. Um, uh, People's ideals and what they lean towards would be more accurate. So I mean, there's just a lot, right? There's just a lot of convenience there. Um, I'm working as hard as I can on it. I mean, it's going to take a lot of research and development. I mean, it takes investment, of course, because I have to use online cloud platforms as a resource in order to, use and implement process computing power using AI integration. But until then, the development and testing can be all local on my computer, and I can test several factors before I can release it out into the world. But yeah, this is me in ways I want to do my part in order to like contribute to society and the world in order to make it a more smoother place to live in. And I believe providing resources and making sure everyone has access to resources in order to navigate today's modern society is probably what's going to benefit everybody, not only today, but in the long run. Getting a job, finding employment should happen within a day. 2025, it should happen within a few hours. I should be able to um, go on either LinkedIn, Indeed, jobs, or whatever it is, hot jobs, whatever it is. If I'm currently unemployed, hypothetically, I work right now, but if I'm unemployed, but yet I have these skills and these skills are required and needed by a particular business, that business should be able to find me and my qualifications and be able to negotiate a wage in a matter of I don't even know, in a matter of maybe 2 or 3 hours, meaning the type of vetting and background check they need to do should be as available as a mouse click. Um, they should be able to look at my LinkedIn profile, look at who I worked with before. They should be able to look at how long I worked there, look at any certifications I have. They should be able to look up my career path and what I've learned and what I know and all of my images or whatever it is. They should be able to have a nice AI summary of what kind of person I am and what kind of technical know-how I've engaged in and at where I've done it at and da 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 da. They should have a better idea of a percentage match of how well I would fit into either the culture or the technological requirements, or maybe a mixture of both. So that should be happening automatically on its own. Um, that's how AI should be able to be implemented in the real world. If I am single, well, I'm also talking about my business, I guess. Like eonsoft.com is going to be engaging in this type of modernization of technology and implementing AI in our everyday life. So that's me, right? I mean, because I'm trying to make life easier for everybody. So also, as we are single and we're trying to navigate our way through the dating pool, you are going to want to not associate, but you're going to want to date or at least get to know a certain type of person that you may connect with either through music, movies, television, hobbies, or so on and so forth, right? Um, and throughout all these factors, it doesn't mean that you have to match one for one correlation. It could just mean that you have a percentage of matches in a couple of different things to where the AI should recognize you both like to do a number of things. So therefore, you have a number of things to talk about. So if you're running into someone at the mall, or you're getting something from a shoe store and your watch jingles, and it's like, hey, you and this person both like Stranger Things, to watch Stranger Things on Netflix, then maybe you should talk about, hey, did you see the last like episode or season or whatever? And then maybe you have something to talk about. But these kind of things are the kind of daily interactions that we probably need to open ourselves up to, and be able to make small talk with someone. Sorry, my nose is just be able to make small talk with someone that we just don't know. My mouth gets a little parched when I'm running my mouth like this. Anyway, back to my presidential platform real quick. I know I'm jumping topics and my nose keeps itching. I'm sorry. But the other subject I was talking about is farming and agriculture. Farming and, well, back to my education real quick. Let me just jump back to education real quick. I think that we should invest in learning uh, everyone's continent, country, and city. I think that should be taught in school. I think that we should be all educated to understand the globe, we and everyone in it. Now, I'm not saying every little tribe that's ever existed for throughout all human history, but we should at least know enough about the continent to understand the continent's history, its people, its government, and maybe enough about its historical significant periods of understanding its monuments, and its contributions to world history, right? We should be educated enough to have a conversation with anyone who comes from any place on this planet. We should all be talking about the history of either France, Greece, Rome, China, Japan, um, uh, uh, countries on the continent of Africa, India, things like that. We should all have the same, South America. We should all have the same generic understanding and foundational understanding of a continent, enough to have a competent conversation. That's what I think education is should be. Also, um, when I was talking about the global identification for easier immigration and movement across the world, I wrote a bullet point here, is that we should invest in the future of global citizenship, which can open opportunities for children to grow up as adults who are not only able to function in society within the United States, but prepare them for international business or commerce. This includes exchange markets, currency, lodgings, vehicles, lifestyle, and etc. So we should be producing children who are able to function not only here in America in each state, but across the country, in different across the world. We should be able to produce functioning a child who can function in Asia, in China, or in Japan, or in India, because they've been raised with an education to understand the history of said place, the people, the language, the food, the culture. If we have a collective understanding and we are raised with this collective understanding as children to adults, then these adults can be more than prepared to interact with other adults of different cultures, and be able to have a more global exchange of products and ideas, and I think that benefits the future too of creativity and investment opportunity. So creating the global citizen means that we're all underneath a common identification structure that's managed by data, and that data is collectively harnessed and shared among each continent or country, especially when it comes to travel. So, standard education models should include woodworking, metallurgy, automotive, plumbing, electrical, analog and digital technology, parenting, food preparation, law, government, and medicine. These things should be the fundamental things that we teach our youth while they're in school. They need hands-on education on all of these aspects of human society, technology, housing. They need at least a basic understanding of the principles that build a technological society or a modern society. They need a hands-on education on how to, like, for instance, I don't know about you, but when are we going to, I mean, we have a generation of our parents and our grandparents who were raised to in auto shop class, meaning they knew things about a car or a vehicle or an engine, and they were raised with that. So it doesn't matter what kind of car they bought or whatever, they always seem to understand the principles of a car. And we have lost that and removed a lot of the education from our schools. And instead, we're focused on digital technology and testing, which isn't really going to be an education. I mean, it's a game of memory, but it's not an education in which the skills that you've learned is something you carry forward through to the rest of your life. So a lot of people haven't changed a tire before. A lot of people haven't fixed an engine before. A lot of people can't change a headlight before, but we've all changed like batteries. So we need to get back to a principle where we have this education in which our hands are dirty, and we wear safety equipment. We know how to use tools and understand how tools work, so that when we walk away from school, we are educated. Educated means we can go out into the workforce and apply our education to a real world, to the real world that's out there. We should be able to walk away from high school able to get a plumbing job, a construction woodworking job, concrete, cement, automobile. Um, we should be able to get into agriculture. We should be able to get into metallurgy. We should be able to get into plumbing. We should be able to get into all of the electrical work. We should be able to have the education to where we are ready to take on all of the labor intensive jobs or intellectual intensive jobs, as it may be, depending on the education that we pursue. But the fundamentals of education should always be hands on and be taught by professionals who have been doing it for years. So that's the kind of education and training that I think that us, as me as a 44-year-old millennial, whatever you want to call me, should pass on and get involved in educating our younger people, like getting them ready for the world. That's what an education should be about. So, farming and agriculture. I what I thought about this is that this is a main tight knit control over who is allowed to actually grow food. I mean, I'm not sure why this is a law or why this is a common problem for people, but for me, I'm president. I have control over everything. I would encourage people to be able to learn how to grow food within their immediate area. I mean, from a potted plant to an apartment complex that wants to take a subplot of land that is not being used for anything at all and start planting tomatoes, vegetables, anything that's consumable that you might want to consume and eat, or Each person can um, have their plot of land to grow stuff and be able to either consume it or save it and sell it to an open marketplace or sell it to a market in order to be sold at a rate or value and things like that, right? So, like, you should be able to grow your own food, consume your own food, and be able to not spend so much money on an actual product from a store, but you should be able to buy seeds and grow your own product. And I think that needs to be something that's globally allowed. Let's see, the military industrial complex significantly reduce the amount of government contracts and contracting for creating weapons of mass destruction, vehicles, firearms, and many agents of human destruction. One, if the United States military is not directly involved in any such military conflict, then it should be properly equipped, trained, and deployed to nations in which we wish to establish relationship by building infrastructure such as art, agriculture, communication technology, and basic services such as education, medical treatment, manufacturing, banking, currency exchange, and transportation. So, I think my thinking behind that idea is exactly what I've said, which means that the military's only function shouldn't be just to be used as some kind of broadsword that goes around destroying places around the world or um, using weapons of mass destruction or any type of destruction to conquer or take over an area, but it should have another side to it, a completely other side that implements people to uh, be employed by the military to build and construct and educate and teach and build infrastructure. And if we're not engaged in World War III or any type of conflict, the military and all of its funding should be used to assist other countries in which that may benefit that country and therefore maybe benefit us by providing either a resource or new trading partner or communication partner or things like that. That's one of the things that I would kinda implement or use the military, only because, using its firepower or using, um, whatever, destructive capability to try and change regime is not really, what I consider a smart chess move unless, there's a quote unquote "dire necessity." And, in the modern era of 2020, resources that you want to, either garner or, trade or barter for, is a business, negotiation that should be, honored among 2 parties and not, um, some global threat that you should always use against someone to try and bend someone to your will. So that's my thought on that. Let's see. Food and Drug Administration. The current FDA allows an overwhelming amount of products which contain harmful materials, chemicals, poisons, all of which can harm the human condition and should be re-examined by the administrative workforce, which removes these items from the shelves of commerce due to its harmful effects in human consumption. So, my FDA reassesses uh, medicine, pills, um, prescription substances, preservatives, things in food, growth hormones. It would re-examine all of the things that are in the things that we consume that harm us. And it would say these things are not allowed. They're no longer allowed. If it's not natural, if it's not of nature, it shouldn't go. It doesn't belong in your body. If it's not of nature, it doesn't belong in your body. If it's cooked from a lab, you know, destroy it. Anything that comes from a lab is an experiment. Someone had to actually concoct something together in order to produce what it is you're consuming. And that's never really a good thing unless it's a medicine, because medicines are only designed to improve the human condition. Therefore, they should be allowed everywhere and they should be readily consumable by everyone. So, the FDA should be an entity in which provides only things that improve the human condition, nothing more. That should be its only function. If it's bad for the human condition, it doesn't belong anywhere in near the human body. So, next I would say is energy. So energy is can be. I'll just quickly read through this. Energy can be is found in nature and can be harnessed in multiple ways. Solar being the primary output method in which energy can be captured by every technical device, building, and vehicle that exists today. Basically, what I'm saying there is, had we implemented solar technology, which collects energy from the um, ultraviolet rays of the sun, um, there are such thing as solar cars, but between solar cars and EV vehicles needs to become and reconcile a reconciliation where the windshield of a car can absorb energy from the sun and charge the EV vehicle, reducing the dependency on a charging station. All vehicles that are EV or have the capability of depending on electricity should be refitted or retrofitted with solar panel lens or lining or some type of substance, integrated substance in which all of your windows um, can absorb solar energy and turn it and store it into energy which charges your vehicle as you drive or as it just sits there outside. Um, Also within buildings, buildings would have the same principle, meaning all of the windows within a building or a skyscraper downtown would have a new lens or a new implementation of solar capture technology in which a window is now collecting, each window is collecting energy, UV energy, and storing that and using it for the power for the floor or for and that gets collected throughout the entire building and shared. And so much to an extent that it should be recognized that by the time we perfect all of this, when we, collect an hour or half a day's worth of solar energy, meaning when the sun goes down, all of the lights and the night lights should kick on and should have enough energy to sustain for the rest of the next day, or even if it's cloudy or whatever, right? But you see where I'm going with it. Let's see. Oh yeah. Okay. So the combination of technologies applied on a massive scale would change how energy is collected, stored, and used within every building, vehicle, and glasses we wear to help see. So we're coming into the era of AI glasses wear and AI audio, I believe, where we can instantly probably start translating with people who don't understand or don't speak English 100%. AI glasses, I believe, might be able to identify solar energy and tint your glasses accordingly to protect your eyes from um, being sunburned, like my left eye is. I think it's called photokeratitis, something like that. Um, you should your AI glasses will probably be a display, being able to identify people everywhere you go, and people being able to identify you. Um, People can call out your name, and you can be able to call out somebody else's name or something like that. So I believe this is kind of where we're going. Uh, so glasses can, help improve your vision. So your AI glasses will help detect what kind of vision is optimal for your eye and stuff like that. Let's see. Let's see, elections and public service. I think I kind of went over that earlier when I said that that everyone should be able to be registered with AI, and then that AI is going to turn into a voting registrar, and then you're going to be able to vote with your wearable or your actual phone through biometrics, and then that'll be registered as a poll, and polling data will be able to be more accurate. Um, so let's see. Homemaking. Oh yeah, okay. I don't know who's gonna enjoy this or not. My beard's itchy. I don't know who's going to needs to hear this or not, or who needs to whatever. But my idea of homemaking is a little different in 2025 in the future, right? So I'm president. I can do whatever I want. I'm just this is where the context is, right? Homemaking. It should be recognized that a stay at home spouse should receive compensation for maintaining the home while the working spouse can participate in their employment. This can be accomplished by having any married couple registered with the municipality and state as residents, along with identification as to which spouse is the head of household and which spouse is the um, will be considered the homemaker. As economic and environmental situations occur, these statuses can be interchangeable by updating the registry. So, I hope that makes sense. I have a girlfriend and she's my spouse and we live together. I am the person who works. She's the homemaker who stays home. We register online as a couple or as a married couple or something like that. And because she stays at home and her job is to, maintain the household while I go to work, she gets a wage from the municipality registered as a homemaker, and a homemaker is a paying job. It's no longer considered unpaid labor. It'll be paid labor, and the labor will depend on hey the a number of different factors. Like think about it. Are you living in an apartment or a house? Are you paying how much in rent are you paying? There has to be like an assessment of um of how much a homemaker's value is going to be, because the homemaker who lives in a one bathroom apartment is going to be different from a homemaker who's in a 5 bedroom, 3 bedroom house, 3 bathroom house. You know what I'm saying? So there's that kind of factor that has to factor in. Um uh let's see. So homemaking, okay, yeah. Okay, so all current what did I write? Okay, I guess I think I'm thinking about the context of marriage and not the context of a relationship, but let's see. All current marriage certificates are registered within application. So that's within the context of marriage. Primary working spouse is identified. Number two, I'm thinking this as far as the person applying for this as a thing. Okay. Three is primary homemaker spouse is identified along with how many children, pets are within the household. So this is the kind of evaluation piece of you're taking care of just the house, or are you taking care of children and pets too? And if you are, what kind of pets are they? Da, 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 da. So this is the kind of factor and assessment that one would get in the value of evaluating the value of a homemaker. Um, let's see. Household duties are defined as meal preparation, child rearing, cleanliness, home repairs, laundry, lawn maintenance, etc. So all of these things that fall within to taking care of or maintaining a household, including its upkeep and repairs, fall into the category and labor of homemaking. And all of these can be kind of like, hey, I did all of these things today, or I can only do this today because I was sick. And then homemaking would be like any other job in which you keep track of, what you do or what you did. Um, I mean, you want to get paid, so I mean, you might as well kind of roll with the program. But I mean, at least this kind of puts to bed like the homemaker isn't valued, while the primary breadwinner is out there working, and the person who's the homemaker stays at home because that's the only thing you can kind of afford to do. But guess what? It should be paid labor. It shouldn't be unpaid. At least I'm president. I'm writing a bill. I want to sign into law. This is what the this is the kind of thing I would want to kind of, implement. Just saying. Vote for me. Healthcare reform. The cost of obtaining and maintaining healthcare has grown exponential rates, where common American citizens cannot afford basic healthcare and insurance to cover themselves and their families. To seek the correction is issue, the basic costs of healthcare coverage can be obtained by signing up for insurance through an employer. The basic healthcare package can be paid for by the employer, which allows everyone basic access to primary healthcare, physicians, dental, and vision. From this baseline access, if any additional healthcare costs need to be obtained by um, the employee can cover the difference from their salary and obtain premium healthcare if required or necessary. I hope that wasn't too like high-minded and like intellectual or anything like that. I mean, it's just basically you work for a job. Um, uh, they provide basic healthcare. If you need additional healthcare because you have additional conditions or whatever, you're just covering the difference, from the basic healthcare to the premium type of healthcare that you need. That's it. Um, let's see. If you don't have enough money, your job's not paying you enough money, then the federal government or the state government can maybe help assist you in paying for that gap or finding you healthcare that's affordable, to get you the care that you need. Okay, so let me go down here. Okay, employer benefits. My world, my way. I'm president. And this is how employer benefits for me could be implemented, right? Like um, when you look at the employer benefits for I'm sorry, I went off TikTok for a minute. Give me 1 minute. Let me see if I can get back in here. My phone overheated, that's why. Anyway, when you look at employer benefits, when you're applying for a job, they tell you 401k matching, or they tell you um, uh, um, tuition reimbursement or price matching or something like that. Like they tell you things that might help you make a decision about whether or not um, you actually want to sign up for the job, right? So, I mean, there's that. But um, if you want like actual like benefits, what should be included in that is uh, um, business expenses. A business can expense bills or whatever it sees necessary, and that may include like communications technology, right? Internet, TV, phone, or any kind of work from home equipment you can kind of write off if you establish your own business, right? So um, uh, um, you can do the same for fuel, gas, and vehicle maintenance if you have a business. So um, I believe that kind of implementation is kind of ideal, is what I'm trying to say. I'm also kind of multitasking because my phone overheated, and which means my TikTok went offline, and I have several viewers on TikTok that were kind of watching me. So I'm trying to get back on TikTok as fast as I can, only because it cut off all of a sudden. So people are probably wondering what happened to me. Hmm. But also, let me get a better overview of my employer benefits. So I think that we all need to consider that we need to establish ourselves as a business. So that needs to be also within the type of identification, registration type of deal where we're identifying who we are and what kind of services we're willing to provide or what kind of experiences that we have. And then with AI implementation, employers can find people who are qualified or meet qualifications um, or internships or offering internships and education in whatever career or job that they might want to pursue. There also needs to be mentorship programs in which this is also happening, meaning there are apprentice certain apprentice programs for plumbing and electricity and woodworking and different types of um, trades like that. In automobiles, there is schools. There were a lot more schools back in the day for automobiles for mechanic shops. But I'm not sure what happened to these type of things. I personally would sign up to understand and study about cars, especially modern cars in an era like where we're transitioning to hybrid and electric vehicles. So, uh, like I would love to learn about vehicles in the modern era. How they work and how um, how to fix them. Right? You want to know how to kind of build uh, these cars out of nowhere. I mean, you want to know how to build and maintain them without robots and stuff like that. Let me log in real quick. Okay. Sorry, guys. I'm over here still trying to log into TikTok and all that. There we go. Yes, allow. Mm-hmm. So anyway, as I was saying, sorry, waiting for a security code, that whole thing to go through. But yeah, I think that we need to start educating younger people in the trades more. I mean, basically, if we want a better educated class of citizens to be able to travel and do business abroad, uh, they're going to have to know something. And I think learning the basic fundamentals of infrastructure in a modern day society is probably the best gift you can give to um, a child, when um, trying to prepare them for the world, doing business across the world. So, there's that. But anyway, I am still trying to sign into TikTok. Mm. Group, it's really you. Yep, it's really me. You'll have to forgive me. I'm an older man trying to figure out his technologies. Mhm. All right, let's see. Let's see if they'll let me go. Let's see if this will let me go. It is a hot, warm day outside today. Trust me. Oh my goodness. Okay. Let's see if TikTok will let me go back. Yep. Oh,
I really thought that I had
there we go.
experienced every single scenario when it comes
There we
to death
go.
of. So let's just go one topic at a time here.
There we go. Now we're cooking. Okay, now I'm back on TikTok and everything. The world is great again. Um. Anyway, where was I? Oh, so I was at employer benefits when talking about what needs to change and improve about how we get our health care and how an employer can provide coverage by being able to write off expenses. That's a different type of deal. I think that if employers can write off healthcare expenses, I think they're able to cover a few more expenses. I'm not sure yet, but that would anything I believe to reduce the financial burden of your employee, like childcare, like providing childcare, should be a thing where that's employers can offer that to the employers. I mean, that makes your life that much more convenient to where you have more free time for either school or working on special projects, stuff like that. But that's neither here nor there. That's just something that we need to have a meeting on when it comes to employment. Like employment needs to be. We need a different idea of full time employment because we need a better work life balance than we have now. I mean, a lot of people are trying to either work to themselves to death or work overtime in order to either make ends meet or barely make it to the next paycheck. And we need a better system of management, time management than that, right? I'm just saying. Um, Now, my idea as far as, I mean, I thought I put a lot of thought into this when I was like, when you're thinking about like, if I'm king for a day, if I'm president for a day, what would I do and what would I change? Like, there's a lot, I thought about like even if it's not me who does all this, if someone at least steals the idea, at least talk this kind of mess, so maybe you can get votes and help some fellow Americans out, on your way to the top, or somebody picks it up and carries and moves the ball forward. But I thought about this consumption tax rebate. I've been thinking about this consumption tax rebate for a while. So let me go through it. Banks can submit a report using automated software which aggregates all of the annual spending from a personal account and calculate a rebate based on a percentage which factors in the cost of living expenses, price inflation, cost of goods, taxes, restaurants and tips, vehicle maintenance, and fuel within each municipality in a state. So when I am talking, yeah, there's a lot there, but you have to keep in context like who I am. Like I can understand how this works because of the technology and the era that we live in now. It's in such to where an AI algorithm can break these things down into categories, assess them, um, and come up with a formula of how to cut a check and to who and to how much. So there's also that's just the consumption rebate part of it. There's a housing rebate. After a successful lease completion, a document is submitted which calculates and factors the amount of rent paid, timely payments, and a rebate check is calculated, then dispersed from the IRS to the individual bank account. So, meaning you're paying your rent on time each and every month, either before the fourth or whatever it is, for a year straight. You've completed an entire lease. then all of that money is just added up for each payment, and a percentage of that money, a check is cut back to you because you've made these payments either on time or early concerning rent, which is what you're supposed to do as a citizen. So my motto in these rebates is that if you're contributing to society as an American citizen and you're not always buying stuff from Amazon and Wish and ordering things from overseas, but you're spending your money right here, right now with us. All of that money that you spend right here locally or within your municipality will be aggregated and a check will be cut to you as a thanks for you spending and being a local consumer within your community. And then within housing, you live here in America, you pay your rent on time, like you should get a percentage of that money back as a reward for participating in adult behavior. So it's about being rewarded for being an adult and doing what you're supposed to do. I think that we live in a society where you're punished for every mistake you make, but you're not rewarded for every good thing or adult thing that you do, and that needs to change. So there's the child support tax rebate. That's all non-custodial parents, which are responsible for paying child support as a court order, shall be assessed and reclassified for each child support payment. Each child should be classified as a dependent on the IRS taxes filed and shall be calculated and refunded for all payments for all years paid. Current and future payments from non-custodial parents can and shall list children as dependents. So that's just reforming the tax code for the non-custodial parents to be able to claim their child that who they're paying child support for as a dependent. That's I'm not sure why we don't have that, or maybe why that's not a global thing everywhere, or why we haven't had that since the beginning of child support. But I think that needs to be also another rebate, a yearly rebate, meaning if you're paying child support on time each year, then a percentage of that money goes back to the actual non-custodial parent who's paying child support. Um, the insurance rebate is for each insurance payment for automobiles that have been completed, 6-month policy with all payments made, with 12-month policy, all payments made, a submitted document, IRS calculated rebate goes back to you. Da, 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 da. So all of these subscriptions and okay, so the reason I say child support, the reason I say housing, the reason I say insurance, and the reason I say consumption, all of these are four different types of things that a citizen contributes by paying out of, but gets no immediate benefit from. These rebates are going to be the benefit of, meaning they're gonna be the benefit for the person who's doing the paying, and there always needs to be a benefit for someone who's doing the paying. I don't think it's very fair for a person to keep paying insurance and to never recoup any single benefit of having said insurance. I think the same can be done for child support, and I think the same can be done for housing. To pay for a house year after year and to receive no benefit from having said house or maintaining it, I think that's like kind of, yeah, no. So like I said, I would um I would kind of restructure the tax form to offer multiple types of rebates for people to get disposable income, meaning if you're having to work and you're having to pay all these bills, some of these uh, things need to come back to you in the form of rebate checks in which you can use that money for anything that you want. It needs to be disposable income. It needs to be date money. It needs to be drinking money. It needs to be going out and spending money on date money. It needs to be enough of those checks needs to be vacation money. Like you need to be able to live your life as you're paying these bills and adulting. So Another platform of mine, if I were president, and I'm going to preface with that, if I were president and, I'm king for a day or whatever ear I'm listening I got or interest I got, I'm just putting it out there, just for whatever, shits and giggles, whatever. I would end, um, I would dedicate the government to end short-term employment. Um, it would mean that people who work a job would be able to sustain employment with that job for as long as humanly possible without being in fear of losing that job, said because of quarterly finance. Meaning there should be a level of job security and long-term investment in which your job should be secure for a number of years or until retirement. And I don't care what era we live in, that's still a possibility. You can sign a 10-year or 5-year contract and be like, this money's promised to me. Um, um, but if I can't be paid anymore or the position has been outsourced somewhere, that person still needs to be made whole. And I think that kind of contracting in business needs to be a regular thing. Like job security and financial security and stability need to be regulated and negotiated, especially throughout the business community in 2025 moving forward. So, ending short term employment. Let me read what I got here. In order to sustain economic stability within each state, we will need to re examine the contract and contract to hire staffing business culture, which has left many people without the ability to afford to take on long term risks in investment and purchases such as automobiles, vehicles, annual vacations, and home purchases. Within the past 30 years, we have seen shifts in employment stem from 20 to 30 years of employment to retirement to simply 10 to 15 years, and now to 5 years or less on average, which means that in education, training, tenure, and stability are much more fragile and cannot be sustained throughout multi generational households. Your grandparents could work one manufacturing plant uh, and put multiple children through college, as well as save money for retirement on their income alone. We are now forced to reconcile with parents who are working multiple jobs or having to accept temporary work without benefits due to a business culture of high turnover to save and reduce costs of full time employees. These practices need to come to an end as they contribute to instability within the economic ecosystem in which long-term commitments such as housing, education, and transportation and investment depend on employment stability. There was a lot there, but at least I hope you understand exactly like what I'm trying to establish in a government vision of, myself, our parents, younger generation coming up. Like what I want is economic stability through long-term employment. And the long-term employment comes with a set of standards and assurances that allow legitimate businesses to allow employers to economically stabilize and financially prepare for um, success instead and retirement instead of saving up for when they have to go in between jobs. um, we used to work at jobs for years and have years of savings and pensions and retirement and investments. All of these things were the norm throughout the 80s, throughout my era of growing up, and so were the 90s. You had a certain level of job and financial security back then that was kind of that had markets competing for your business, for your employment. Um, Employees had all of the leverage. We can sue for wrongful termination. We can sue for harassment. We can sue for unfairly dismissal, which means like we were fired for no reason at all, or we were fired because um, we said something or did something somebody else didn't like. So you had all of these things in which you can at least be made whole on your way out the door. Now it's built in such a manner where everything's so quote unquote at will, that they can terminate your employment in less than a day for no reason at all, then numbers not adding up. So this causes financial insecurity and instability, as not knowing where your next paycheck is coming from causes anxiety, and anxiety comes with stress and the rest of that, and that can cause uh, disharmony within a household. Anyway, ending short-term employment also means some other things. So let me go through these quickly. Introduction of 4-day work weeks as standardized options. 4-day work week, 3 days off, standard. Annual vacations with pay rather than paid time off accrual. I don't know where they got paid time off from. The problem is that if a business is your employer and they pay you for your availability, um, you once upon a time had vacation that was paid for by the company, and instead, what they're saying is your labor is going to some bucket of time in which you can use that bucket of time in order to be away from work and still earn money. And it is not a 2 week package. It's not even a week package. I mean, now it's like 2 or 3 days or something like that. You'd have to work an entire year in order to have like maybe 5 day a 5 day vacation. And real vacations aren't like 5 days out of the week. They're really going to be 2 or 3 months. Um, that's how kind of some other countries do it around the world, and we should adapt those kind of mentality of having a real vacation, meaning you're disconnected from work. You have either someone else pick up what you were doing, or what you were doing is put on the back burner, and the world keeps turning. Um, Also, let me see. Number three is the benefits package for full time employees. Number four is permanent hire job offerings after interview processes are completed. New hire onboarding has taken place and probationary periods have elapsed. These are some of the things to end short term employment. Ending early termination for employees hired and then terminated before qualified for company benefits, and auditing businesses via these practices. This is that thing where companies have what do you call it? Hire people for 3 months, and before you turn full time, or before they offer you a full time position, they fire you and they let you go, and they let go of all contractors, because the people that they want full time, they won't say anything. The people that they don't want full time, they'll just terminate your employment, and because so they don't have to pay you any benefits or offer any benefits. So they pretty much hired you and misled you into believing that your employment was and your presence was valued when it wasn't. And these kind of business practices need to be like pursued and persecuted, in my opinion, in my administration, whatever you want to call it, right? Okay, so I want to be able to um, have business deductions for people who start their own businesses. I want to have an actual what do you call it? Community of small businesses, and there probably already is, right? There is a small business community. There is a chamber of commerce. There are clubs and SBAs and meetings and all that. I'm a small business owner myself, but I'm not rubbing elbows with other people, not right now. But there would be a way for me, like I would build a kind of pool, a networking pool that says if you're a small business owner and this is what you're interested in, like you would register with the Chamber of Commerce or register with this and that. And then you would get alerts to what kind of conventions or parties, I don't know, what kind of social gatherings or meetups where a person may need your business acumen or your services or may want to offer you something or a position. So, if you're a small business owner and you're looking for connections and networking, that should be a technological outreach in which you can kind of sign up, register, and then start networking, and people can reach out to you. You can reach out to them, and then start going to gatherings, clubs, soirees, whatever, however people get down these days, right? So, and when we're talking about employers and employees relationships, that can also be narrowed down to meetings. Like, let's say somebody from ABC company is hiring for a Python developer, like I do Python. So let's just say I can apply for the Python developer position. I do Python, but I don't specialize in it. I know enough to navigate around it, but I don't specialize in it. But they need from me more my data background experience and blah blah blah. So they schedule a quick phone interview with me, and it goes to a virtual. I don't know, one of those camera meetings, whatever, Zoom, whatever. They ask me the questions that they need to ask, and I answer them, and they're like, okay, this is our guy. So then next steps is he fills out this app. This app reaches out to my Google or my Gmail or my iCloud account. Um, then it automatically stamps and fills out all of the necessary tax paperwork that's required in order to hire me. And then they can offer me a position, and the position will be the confirmation letter of the rate of how much per hour or how much per year. The frequency, all the benefits, blah blah blah. It would all be an electronic API that would execute as soon as they decide on who they want to hire, and once they select someone, that person should get a notification, a higher notification that says you have been selected for this role after interviewing with blah 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 blah. And do you want to accept the position with this offer, blah 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 blah. And it summarizes like kind of the contract of, and you can kind of like go through and read the specifics, and if you don't like a specific, go through like an edit and be like, hey, I have a problem here, and da 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 da. And then you can kind of negotiate between your employer what the contract is going to be. Basically, if it's Monday through Friday, like 9 to 5, let's say you want 8 to 5, okay, they change that. Let's say you want weekends off and they schedule you for Friday or for Saturday or something like that. You can negotiate that. Um, like all of these things can be virtually negotiated and then agreed to. And once agreed to by both parties, like you can actually start work that following Monday or that following whatever. And like like all of these things would help reduce the uh, short-term and or long-term unemployment, only because things are so interconnected now. Like my PayPal should that's associated with my email account that's also tied to my bank. Like if they're hiring me, they should be able to select my email account. My email account can they can then say, hey, we're gonna pay this guy in order to do this labor. Then there should be an API that's tied and registered in my Gmail that connects to my LinkedIn, that connects to my bank through PayPal, which says, okay, we're paying this guy this amount of money and this account for doing this kind of job. This is his position at this job. that he's going to start work on this day. He's going to lead this team and he's going to do these things, da, 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 da. Or at least what the job requirements or description says, right? So I think that these things are going to help with employment no matter where you're going to work. If you work at a bank or if you work at a grocery store, you should be able to be reached out to or reach out to an employer looking to hire somebody, and your application shouldn't be you lifting a finger to, well, yeah, it should be you lifting a finger, but that finger is only going to select apply for this position, and everything that qualifies you for that position or that's built off of a pre-built resume or a resume that's located somewhere should be able to use to be populated within all the requirements that are necessary in order to apply for the job. It should be very easy to apply for a job, and a job or an employer should have relative ease to find you as a qualified candidate. So, like all of these things, like in modern day society, in order to acquire what you need as a resource, whether it be employment or your driver's license renewed or your car insurance renewal form, all of these documents can be now virtualized, meaning you should be able to sign up for them, apply for them using your phone or your smartphone device. You should be able to submit it no problem. You should be able to attach it with your email address that contains most, if not all, of your true information that's been vetted. You should be able to register to vote, be able to vote. You should be able to be involved with more of your government, meaning being able to view what bills are being signed, who they affect, where, why, when, blah, blah, blah. And that goes up to the federal level too. Who represents you in the Senate, who represents you in the House, your school board, who's representing you in the school board, what's the teaching curriculum in all of the local high schools, maybe all of the local colleges. Like with all of the information that is out there, we should have an easier time accessing through it. But we need a vehicle to do so that can reach out, fetch all of this information, and give us the information that we as citizens should be able to know right at the top of our head. Who runs the school board in District 27 then in the state of da, 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 da? People should be able to kind of rattle off like these answers and to be that intimate with who's doing what and where and why. So in my world of my magical world of being president, like all of these things are interconnected, and technology and AI are going to help us facilitate who we are, who we should match up with in when it comes to dating, who we should match up with when it comes to employer or employee relationships. Um, who's the lowest price for your car insurance when you're driving this kind of car? What's affordable as far as your home and living expenses in what part of town? Who has the best rate of hotels when you're talking about traveling somewhere? Like all of these things should be um, uh, readily retrievable within a matter of seconds. If you're able, I want you to think about this and consider this. Just think that you're able to right now, at any moment, order whatever you ordered last night from the same restaurant, have it made, and have it ready within an hour. Voting should take the same amount of time. Your car insurance should be the same amount of time. Everything, every kind of document you can think of, or every type of process or paperwork that you've ever had to fill out that took more than an hour should take the same amount of time as it did for you to reorder what you ordered from Domino's, Pizza Hut, or Wingstop. Like it should be that easy. It should be that easy. You need a schedule for a babysitter or a daycare center because last minute, blah, 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 blah. Okay, fine. Look on your phone. There's an app, or AI reaches out to you and says, okay, this person right now is available to watch your kids from this place from this time to this time at this rate in your neighborhood. Like you should be able to negotiate that in a manner of minutes. And people who are babysitting, right? I don't know if there's an app for babysitting. I'm pretty sure there is. There's an app for dog watching. There's an app for almost everything now. But these things should these apps that provide services are going to need intelligence behind them in order to reach a far audience so that people have access to what they need readily available. And that if they want to sign up for it and pay for it, it should be as easy as a few clicks rather than spending um, hours trying to register and build a new profile. It should already connect to your email profile. It should already, which is connected to your bank account, and you should already be able to negotiate a good deal for whatever kind of service you need. And it always should carry on within memory, so that you have a repetitive business or service. Um, you should these services and resources should be available to you wherever you go on whatever device, your phone, and even your watch. I think your watch is going to be heavily utilized within the future and take over maybe some of the main functionalities of the phone. If they get the watch face just right to where they have a powerful camera lens in which you're able to take accurate pictures of your environment or stream video or something. I don't know. I don't know if they'll ever go there on the watch. I'm pretty sure they might, but still. Then I mean, you're already able to tap and pay with your watch, and it's able to monitor you and your heart rate and whatever. So, um, yeah, your watch might still be able to tell you a lot more stuff in the future, but still. Um, all of the things that you need to pay as far as bills and stuff and all of the adulting you need to do need to be far more easier than having to even sometimes pick up a phone and go through the IVR and make a payment like that. So we're reaching a plateau where we need to start implementing more tech in everyday small life, and it needs to come up to an AI platform which negotiates that and allows us more freedom to not have to worry about um, the things that we have to do in order to achieve a goal, like paying a bill. Right? You have to log into the app. You have to put in your credit card number, or maybe it's on file. Like that should be governable within speech. Hey, pay my phone bill. And then your AI takes over and it does exactly that. So, yeah. So when it comes to um, the things I want to do, like, yeah, they're more futuristic and they're more AI integrated. But the point behind these things are making life easier for us to have a stable job, have more money, um, uh, uh, pay less in taxes, be more technologically advanced, and have ease and access to all of the resources that allow us our freedom to vote and this and that. With this education, I would hope comes a new era of people communicating with each other in real life over topics and subjects that they both have equal access to. Basically, we all live in the same universe. No one really lives in a bubble. You can't really have this talks about conspiracy theories and stuff like that because, I mean, this kind of information should be kind of scrubbed, not only from the internet, but from our hearts and minds. I don't think we should live in an era where conspiracy theories should be allowed to be propagated through the information, our information era. I think that when we're talking about either fairy tales or in the context of what ifs, only then we should talk about what could or can't happen. But without that context of saying, "Hey, I'm just joking," or "Hey, it would be nice if." Um, we should stay away from, oh well, I heard this and that happened because of so and so. So but anyway, I wanted to like come up and just kind of spew my little rant and rave. I don't want to be up here all day. Well, I don't want to take as much time from your day just because I'm up here rattling off. But my main point was that we need to get back to a decent time in which the 80s were like the zenith of greatness in the United States of America, at least in my opinion. And I think that millennials such as myself need to step up in government and municipalities and start running for offices, and we need to start communicating with each other more openly and effectively about how and what's going to improve society for everybody and make sure no one's left behind, or um, uh, see ourselves in the future in which everyone's working together to accomplish a goal, and that goal can either be making more money, providing more services, and improving the human condition. Like, we should all at least agree to these fundamentals when we're going into business for ourselves, or when we decide to embark in an endeavor. So, I mean, that's me, right? I think that people my age and in my school that I went to school with that are parents, I'm a parent as well. I'm a lot of things, but I haven't gotten knee deep into government as I should be, because I am supposed to take over. I'm supposed to run on this platform that I'm running on right now. I'm supposed to um, say these things over and over again until I'm blue in the face, so that I can at least garner votes, or at least trust that what I am saying is something that you either co-sign or can relate to in some sort of shape or form. I just believe that if I were to implement, 90 or 80% of my platform, that the common experience when you wake up each morning should be better than yesterday and the day before. You should be paid a living wage that matches and keeps up with current inflation. Every business should um, uh, live up to a standard in which a person is being paid a livable wage. If they do not have the quote unquote profit um, in order to sustain that livable wage, I believe that the government can then either subsidize or supplement said income by registry. Meaning, if you're a McDonald's worker and you're working part time, but you live in a single bedroom house, and the amount of money that you're making from, McDonald's or any fast food restaurant is not enough to pay all of the bills or maintain at least the standard lifestyle, that subsidies like your hours and your pay is monitored, well, not monitored, but it's tracked by the pay stub, and the pay stub, which measures your gross and your net and your actual and then the deposit. If it is not enough, where you cannot sustain all of the major bills in order to maintain a household, then an application form is sent or generated on your behalf to the federal or state government that says this person simply does not make enough or have enough hours to sustain these types of payments, and therefore it qualifies for these type of subsidies and supplementary income in order to sustain at least a level basic standard of living. So it is kind of like I think Andrew Yang spoke on universal basic income, like UBI, right? So it would be UBI in that kind of sense, because if we start investing in UBI, and that's just a regular disbursement of regular money that everyone has access to, then it means that it could potentially turn into a thing where everyone's paying their bills on time, which means everyone has a lot more disposable income, maybe either at the end of the paycheck or the end of the month, which means with that disposable income, they can go out more and socialize more, which means more businesses will have more traffic and more product to sell, which means more dates, which means more activities, which means kind of like getting back into the 80s era where life was lived outside, more outside than inside. So my hope is to facilitate a better society and a more interactive society where we can be outside together, socializing, and having a good time, and our children having access to a better life without having the worry of signing up for 10 or 12 different apps in order to be seen and recognized. So yeah, I guess that's kind of the summary of why I wanted to come up. Besides the 80s television and the 80s movies that I was rattling off earlier, I really want society to get back into the habit of socializing with each other and having these long, drawn out discussions and debates about what's needed in in today's society with all the technology around. But anyway, I have been up here 2.5 hours. I don't want to go at, make it a half a day thing. But I know on TikTok I haven't been on that long because I got kicked off because the phone ran too hot. So I had to re-log back on. YouTube and Patreon have been fine. It's just this phone that heated up. I had it on a charger, so that's why. But anyway, I guess I hope everyone got something out of this. I hope everyone likes and subscribes and shares. I'm going to try and have a panel thing where I invite people up from TikTok just to have a discussion on 80s television, 80s movies, why the 80s were the best. I mean, for me, that'll be my little panel discussion about like why is the 80s the best? What sticks out for you in particular? Like movies, TV, all of it. It's movies, TV, music, lifestyle. For me, it's a lot, right? But I think I want to hear back from the public and just let other people talk. First of all, because my mouth is dry. Second of all, I think it's just more interactive and fun that way. But I will try and be back on in a few hours on TikTok and YouTube, and Patreon too. I guess I'll be back on all three of these things. But I won't be sitting this phone on the charger anymore. I don't want to cut off my TikTok audience that come in here and hear what I have to say. But I hope everyone has a good Saturday afternoon and get out there and do something. I myself have to take a walk. I need to go get some stuff, minor grocery shopping, just some things with juice and some butter so I can cook later. But I will see you guys when I see you, and I hope you let everything I said marinate. And I don't know, in the land of make believe, maybe I'll run for president. Maybe I should. I think I'd probably be the world's coolest president. I mean, just my opinion. I'd be listening to 80s every day. I'd have concerts at the White House. I would, I don't know. I do a whole bunch of stuff as president. You don't even want to see me as president. I'd be the surf president. I'd be the basketball president, volleyball president. I'd be the Metallica president. I'd be insane. But I'd be the coolest president, because I dance. Anyway, I will check you guys later and have a good afternoon.